Mr. Joseph Jordan, the Associate Administrator for Government Contracting and Business Development at the Small Business Administration. In this role, Mr. Jordan and his team are responsible for implementing the contracting programs contained in the Small Business Act. Mr. Jordan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Chairman Nye, distinguished members of the subcommittee, it's an honor to testify before you today on the SBA's deep commitment to veteran entrepreneurs and small business owners. This past year, our administrators made veterans a priority in each of the SBA's core mission areas, the 3 C's of capital, counseling, and contracting. With regards to access to capital, the SBA hit a milestone on July 4th with nearly $500 million in SBA's Patriot Express loans over just 3 years going to veterans, reservists, service members, and their spouses. Within our counseling programs, the SBA has doubled the number of Veterans Business Outreach Centers to 16. In fiscal year 2009, we provided training to 290 contracting officials at 5 major agencies, as well as 2,000 service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Today, I've been asked to focus on the steps we've taken to help veteran and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses access federal contracting opportunities. As you know, the SBA works with federal agencies to increase contracting opportunities for small businesses. Our goal is to ensure that not less than 23% of all eligible prime contracting dollars go to small businesses. Within that, the federal government has a number of additional sub-goals, including a 3% goal for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Agencies have made great strides in recent years. In fiscal year 2007, 1% of prime contracting dollars went to service-disabled vets. That rose to 1.5%, or $6.5 billion in fiscal year 2008, and we expect that based on preliminary data for fiscal year 2009, there'll be yet another significant increase in both dollars and percentage. Still, we know we have work to do and are committed to ensuring that the federal government hits its goals for all small business groups, including service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. One of the reasons we know that we can improve further is due to our efforts with respect to Recovery Act contracting. This time last year, the Vice President, Commerce Secretary Locke, and our administrator made a strong interagency push to ensure that Recovery Act contracts were going to veterans, minorities, women, and other groups. We've been tracking this data, and I'm very pleased to say that the federal government has awarded 5% of Recovery Act contracts to service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. And I want to thank the other agencies represented here today for their contributions to that accomplishment. Building on our success under the Recovery Act, we're examining which of our actions were most effective. Ultimately, we want to identify best practices and integrate them into our regular day-to-day fiscal year contracting efforts. More recently, this commitment to veteran-owned small businesses has been renewed by the President himself. In April, he ordered the creation of 2 task forces, one on small business contracting and another on veterans business development. Today's discussion lies at the intersection of those 2 efforts, and Administrator Mills and I, as well as others throughout the administration, are working to create formal recommendations that should be delivered to the President in the coming weeks. Overall, we've made progress over the past year, but as the GAO reminded us last fall, there's more we can do. Our goal-related improvements must be accompanied by policies and procedures that root out fraud, waste, and abuse in this important program. That's why we have developed a comprehensive approach to rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse. We are collectively focused on all 3 stages of the contracting oversight continuum: certification, ongoing surveillance and monitoring, and enforcement. We've already made improvements in all 3 areas, even when, like in the case of the Service-Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Program, it operates via a self-certifying process. We are handling more protests than ever before, and the protest process is working. While the number of protests is increasing, the percentage of firms determined as ineligible through protests is declining. We are also working more closely than ever with the Veterans Administration, our General Counsel's Office, our Suspension and Debarment Official, our Inspector General, the Department of Justice, and many other key stakeholders. I should also note that the President's fiscal year 2011 budget submission asks for $2 million that will help us with eligibility and certification efforts across our contracting programs. My commitment to you today is that we will continue to move forward with diligence and speed in strengthening our efforts to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Finally, we share the concerns of many service-disabled veteran-owned small business contractors on the issue of parity, which is perhaps the most pressing issue facing this community. A recent court decision attempts to place the Hub Zone Set-Aside program above SBA's other small business contracting programs, including the Service-Disabled Vets program. If this decision were applied throughout our contracting programs, it could essentially redirect billions of dollars away from service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, as well as 8A and women-owned small firms. Moreover, It could create confusion within the contracting community, which could result in all small businesses losing opportunities for federal contracts. That's not fair, and it wasn't the intent of Congress. That is why the administration supports a legislative effort currently underway to make the relatively simple clarification in statutory language, replacing shall with may in HUBZone's language. We urge Congress to act on this issue as soon as possible, especially given that a large portion of contracting dollars are obligated in the final quarter of the fiscal year, and missing out on just 1% of contracting opportunities means $5 billion in lost revenue to small businesses. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to your questions.